Hello, good morning, welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Tuesday, May the 13th. We are here to look at new releases that have been published this week. And on Tuesdays, we look at the darker side of crime fiction. We look at crime fiction and thrillers. Hope you're having a good day. Quick announcements. I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. They go for 2.5 hours. We do them every Tuesday and Thursday evenings and Saturday afternoons. Good morning, Kim. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good morning. All right, let us jump in. This first one I have kind of bookmarked to see if it's something I'd want to read for Spy versus Spy. This is called Mrs. Spy by M.J. Robotham. Ooh, got a blurb from Ava Glass, one of my favorites. Maggie Flynn isn't your typical 1960s mum. She's a spy, an unsuspecting operative for MI5 stalking London's streets in myriad disguises. Widowed and balancing her clandestine career with raising a Beatles-mad teenage daughter, Maggie finds comfort and purpose in her profession, providing a connection to her late husband, whose own covert past only surfaced after his death. But Maggie's world spins out of control when a chance encounter with a mysterious Russian agent triggers a chilling revelation. He knew her husband, and what's worse, the agent suspects someone on home soil betrayed him. As Maggie searches for answers, she'll question everyone and everything she thought she could trust. In the murky and perilous world of espionage, can she outsmart those determined to keep her silenced? Ooh, I kind of want to read it now. Can I wait? Can I wait till September? Carl, I've never known how to say this. Hyacinth has a new one. I did check. It is new. Good morning, Elena. How you doing? You slept good? Oh, I bet that felt really good. Kim said psychiatric visit this morning. Oh, it is this morning? Okay, final visit Social Security is sending me to. All right, you're going to do great. And it's Tuesday, so you can reward yourself with the lunch. This is called Fever Beach. The afternoon of September 1st, dishwater gray and rainy, a man named Dale Figo picked up a hitchhiker on Gus Grissom Boulevard in Tangelo Shores, Florida. The hitchhiker, who reminded Figo of Danny DeVito, asked for a lift to the interstate. Figo said he'd take him there after finishing an errand. Thus begins this book, with an errand that leads into the depths of Florida at its most Floridian, a sun-soaked bastion of right-wing extremism, white power, greed, and corruption. Figo, it turns out, is the only hate-monger ever to be kicked out of the Proud Boys for being too dumb and incompetent. Oh, etc. I don't like political things when they get one-sided, etc. I am marked safe from ever reading that one. Dying to Meet You by Serena Bowen. Rowan Gallagher is a devoted single mother and a talented architect with a high-profile commission restoring an historic mansion for the most powerful family in Maine. But inside, she's a mess. She knows that stalking her ex's avatar Oliver Portland on her phone isn't the healthiest way to heal from their breakup. But she's out of ice cream and she's sick of rom-coms. Watching his every move is both fascinating and infuriating. He's dining out while she's wallowing on the couch. Honey, that's your choice. You don't have to. The last straw comes when he parks in their favorite spot on the waterfront. In a weak moment, she leashes the dog and sets off to see who else is in his car. Instead of catching her ex in a kiss, Rowan becomes the first witness to his murder and the primary suspect. But Rowan isn't the only one keeping secrets. As she digs for the truth, she discovers the dead man was stalking her too, gathering intimate details about her job and her past. Struggling to clear her name, Rowan finds herself spiraling into the shadowy plot that killed him. Will she be the next to die? Good morning, Mary. Happy Tuesday. Sounds like a big day for you, Kim. Good luck, and you will prevail. Absolutely. The Dark Maestro by Brendan Slocum. Curtis Wilson is a cello prodigy growing up in the Southeast DC projects with a drug dealer for a father. But through determination and talent and the loving support of his father's girlfriend Larissa, Curtis claws his way out of his challenging circumstances and rises to unimagined heights in the classical music world, even soloing with the New York Philharmonic. And then suddenly his life disintegrates. His father, Zippy, turns state's evidence implicating his old bosses. Now the family, Curtis included, must enter the witness protection program if they want to survive. This means Curtis must give up the very thing he loves most, sharing his extraordinary music with the world. When Zippy's bosses prove too elusive for law enforcement, Curtis, Zippy, and Larissa realize their only chance of survival is to take on the criminals themselves. They must create new identities and draw on their unique talents, including Curtis's musical ability to go after the people who want them dead. But will it be enough to save Curtis and his family? Interesting. End of that row. Ooh, definitely. The Labyrinth House Murders, The Bizarre House Mysteries. This is a work in translation. Yukito Ayatsuji is the author, and Holing Wong is the translator. Can the brilliant Kiyoshi Shimada solve the mystery of this bizarre house before all those trapped in its labyrinth are dead? Can you guess the solution before he does? Miyagaki Yotaro is one of Japan's most famed mystery writers, but several years ago, he put down his pen and left the Tokyo literary world for a life of seclusion in the remote labyrinth house built by the notorious architect Nakamura Seiji. When four of the country's most exciting up-and-coming crime writers are invited to the house for Yotaro's birthday party, they are honored to accept, but no sooner have they arrived than they are confronted with a shocking death, then lured into a bizarre, deadly competition with each other. As the competition proceeds and murder follows murder, the brilliant Kiyoshi Shimada investigates. Can he solve the mystery of the house before all those trapped in its labyrinth are dead? And can you guess the solution where he does? They just said it again. Well, very interesting. Sounds very twisty. And Mary says, rain last night. Ooh, hooray! We need it so badly. It was a gentle one. Oh, nice. So actually soaked in rather than running off. No, the farmers are happy. Absolutely. They rely on stuff like this. Kim says, thanks, y'all. And Mary, the fresh coffee is ready. Another small blessing. Indeed. Speaking of, let me take a slug. Or a gulp. The Language of Birds by K.A. Merson. A brilliant but solitary teenager must unlock ciphers, unearth buried clues, and reckon with the outside world as she pursues an ancient secret in this book. 17-year-old Arizona's favorite things include cryptography, geocaching, and the writings of Jules Verne, and exploring the Sierra Nevadas on her Russian Ural motorcycle with her dog Mojo riding shotgun in his sidecar. She's not, in other words, your average teenager. So when she learns her mother's been kidnapped and finds a cryptic text accompanying the ransom note, she's not just horrified, but electrified. Solving puzzles and cracking codes are what she does best, and she knows exactly how to tackle the challenge the kidnappers are dangling in front of her. What she doesn't yet realize is that she's been enlisted in a treasure hunt on the trail of an occult, centuries-old secret her father supposedly took to his grave. And if the prize at the end is real, it could shake the world. As Arizona chases the truth through fiendish puzzles and ancient texts, unearthing clues both buried underground and hiding in plain sight in the western landscape, she's forced to navigate the outside world in ways she never has before and begins to forge connections she never dreamed she could. Well, that sounds interesting. Alex North has a new one. The Man Made of Smoke. This is a serial killer thriller. Dan Garvey's life has been haunted by the crime he witnessed as a child, narrowly escaping an encounter with a notorious serial killer. He has dedicated his life since to becoming a criminal profiler, eager to seek justice for innocent victims. But when his father passes away under suspicious circumstances, Dan revisits his small island community, determined to uncover the truth about his death. Is it possible that the monster he remembers from his childhood nightmares has returned after all these years? The Marriage Rule by Helen Monks Takar. 9 months into motherhood, Elle is struggling. She's battling being sidelined at work, fighting to feel at home in her post-baby body, and feeling pressure to be intimate with her adoring husband, Dom. Why does everything seem so hard, especially when Dom is such a helpful, hands-on dad as well as an ever-attentive husband? Elle turns to her charismatic new colleague, Gabriel, to get through the day and red wine to soothe her at night. For a while, the distractions work until one night she wakes up bleary-eyed in a hotel room next to a man who's not her husband. A dead man who's not her husband. Elle realizes Dom is the only person who can help her escape the hotel room with her future intact. She also knows she'd never have found herself next to the dead man if she'd followed the marriage rule, the one thing she's been told a wife needs to do to keep her marriage alive. End of that row. Dead of Night by Lisa Gray. A crime writer, a cold case. Will she survive to tell the story? Since the sudden and tragic death of her partner, best-selling crime author Serena Winters hasn't written a word. With deadlines looming, she packs up her grief and escapes from New York City to a secluded clifftop house in small-town California, hoping the change of scenery will cure her writer's block. But as news of her arrival spreads, Serena finds herself facing strange accusations that she's here to cash in on the house's history. When she uncovers the chilling story of a young family who mysteriously vanished from the very same house 30 years earlier, she can't help asking more questions. Someone in the local community doesn't want the past dug up, though. Someone willing to push Serena to the limits of her sanity to keep the truth buried. Caught in a spiraling campaign of intimidation and harboring a dark secret of her own, Serena soon finds herself in the kind of danger she usually only writes about, which the author is now writing about. How meta. Death on the Island by Eliza Reed. Trapped on a remote island by a howling storm, 9 people sit down to dinner. One of them is about to die. How original. A group of international players has gathered in a tiny village off the coast of Iceland for a diplomatic dinner. There's Kirsten, the mayor reeling from a personal tragedy. Graham, the ambassador with an agenda to push. Jane, his wife, along for the ride on another one of her husband's many business trips. And several others from Iceland and from abroad, each with their own reason for being there, their own loyalties and grievances. By the end of the night, one of them will be dead, and it will be up to the ambassador's wife, Jane, to figure out how and why. What Jane soon comes to realize is that small communities can be the most dangerous of them all, and no one in their group is safe, with secrets around every corner and violent weather trapping the finite list of suspects together on the island. This locked room mystery by international blah blah blah. And then Burbage. 1 in 4 by Lucinda Berry. When a reality show about former child stars overcoming addiction culminates in murder, their therapist must take a closer look into their lives and her own. Dr. Laurel Harlow can't believe she's agreed to do a reality TV show, but her years as a chemical dependency counselor and personal history with the show's director make her the obvious choice. Treating a mansion full of former child stars on the road to recovery is the tallest order of her career, especially when one of them turns up dead while the cameras are still rolling. In a house full of narcissists vying for the spotlight, everyone's hiding something, including Laurel. An investigation could expose a past she'd rather keep buried, but among the attention-starved patients, only one of them is a predator, and Laurel is skilled at spotting a predator when she sees one. As she hunts a killer in her present, the unsettling truths of Laurel's past are forced into the light. But this time, she'll face her demons head on. She'll stop at nothing to expose a murderer, even if it means risking everything she holds dear. The Birthday Party by Shalini Boland. Why do I think it's just not going to go well? Birthday party isn't a good thing here. A party, a nightmare, a child gone without a trace. Kidjap. It started out as a party, 6 little girls gliding and giggling at this ice rink to celebrate Natalie's daughter's 8th birthday. But by Natalie's next head count, it's turned into a crime scene. 6 children went onto the ice, and now there are just 5. Nobody saw her niece Elle being taken. Nobody saw the person in a cartoon costume lure her quietly away. Traumatized by what happened on her watch, Natalie spends the next decade supporting her sister Jo as the years since Elle's abduction tick by. But as the 10th anniversary approaches, Jo becomes convinced that someone is stalking her, someone who knows the truth about that day on the ice. As long-buried secrets start to surface, the sisters must relive the horror of losing Elle and watch the world as they know it shatter before their eyes. That sounds a little creepy. End of that row. Slaying You, second in the Amber Jameson series by Michelle Gagnon. Grace and Amber's first encounter was anything but ordinary. They bonded over being stalked by the same psychopath. After narrowly escaping that ordeal, they went their separate ways, determined to get back to their lives. Surprise, neither of them is very good at being normal. Despite their best efforts, they both feel an irresistible pull towards the dark side. So when they reunite for a Vegas wedding and discover that an even more dangerous killer is targeting their friends, it's time to get the gang back together. Grace and Amber have outrun a murderer before, but can they do it again? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. When We Go Missing by April Henry. Let's see. What if you found evidence of a crime but no one believed you? 17-year-old Willow always has a camera around her neck. She volunteers as a photographer at Finding Home, an animal shelter. When Willow stumbles upon a lost camera memory card, it's filled with hundreds of photos of teenage girls. Some are smiling, others look unaware, and a few seem terrified. Excuse me. The police tell her taking photos in public isn't a crime, but Willow can't seem to let it go, especially after she finds her own photo on the card. So Willow teams up with new volunteer Dare to figure out what happened to the girls. As their investigation heats up, so does the chemistry between them. But everyone around Willow seems to have a secret. Finding Home's owner, her own mom, and even Dare. When Willow learns that some of the girls on the camera card have gone missing, she realizes the unknown photographer might be a serial killer. Can Willow find him before he finds her? Spontaneous Remission, a medical thriller by Joel Shulkin, and there's an illustrator. Why would you have an illustrator for a medical thriller? I don't want to know. What do you mean a 2023 award finalist? But everything about this was saying it was published this week. Let's double check things. Well, it's Goodreads even has it published this week, so how can it win an award? Maybe it was a submission? I don't know what the Claymore Award is. Desperate to rid her husband of the burden of caring for her scleroderma and end-stage kidney failure, Betsy Daniels seeks out help to end her life, but her friend, a cancer survivor, convinces Betsy instead to pray like she's never prayed before. Several weeks later, the gambit seems to have paid off. Her kidney failure has resolved, and even her family doctor, Regina Thomas, can't find a reason why. Her body is miraculously healing, the scleroderma vanishing as if it never existed. Betsy is convinced she's been blessed with a miracle and wants the world to know the word of God. But Regina isn't convinced they're witnessing God's work. She's a woman of science, and she fears Betsy's spontaneous remission may have other consequences. Betsy is changing both outwardly and inwardly, and Regina is suffering from her own medical problems, and if she can find out why Betsy is healing, perhaps she can help herself as well. What Betsy and Regina don't know is that a hired killer is also seeking that answer. He's already murdered a biotech researcher who claimed to have developed a panacea for all disease, but the prototype itself is missing and all the supporting research destroyed. Having tortured and eliminated the researcher's friends and co-workers, the killer has tracked the prototype to Clearwater, Florida, where Betsy and Regina live, and he will stop at nothing to get it. He's not the only one. Before his murder, the researcher reached out to his friend, Swiss professor Friedrich Gersch, a genius who has tackled some of the biggest biotechnical threats to society, and gave him clues to find the prototype. Gersch has also traced those clues to Clearwater and is determined to find the prototype before it falls into the hands of his greatest enemies. Whoever finds Betsy first will hold the key to the greatest medical discovery in human history, or its greatest threat. Look at that. Look at that timing. And that's the end of that, and that's all the end of the books, and that's the end of the time. Thank you very much, guys. An imposter of mystery. Well, that is all we have time for, but we did get through everything. That is fabulous. Tomorrow we'll be looking at romance. Again, I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. They'll go for 2.5 hours. Spot on. I know, it's like perfect. That'll never happen again. All right. Hope you have a very good day. After a few days in the 80s, we are down in the 50s today and probably going to be rainy, which will probably help my hazelnut bushes that we just planted. So I'm okay with this. Hope you have a good day. Hope you read good books. Be safe. Choose to be happy. And Kim, good luck with your appointment and your great lunch. You will be even more wonderful. And Mary, enjoy the rain. Elena, have a very good day. Cajun, have a good day at work. Mary says, thanks so much. Good luck, Kim and Elena, and have a great day too. Thank you. All right. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day. God bless.